Good morning, everyone. I will call the regular meeting of the City of San Angelo Development Corporation to order at 8:31 a.m. I'm going to ask John Berriew to lead us in an opening prayer. John.
If you would bow with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to live in this fine city of San Angelo, Texas, in the United States of America. The odds of any of us coming to this place in this time are astronomically against this blessing. But to you we give honor and glory for the blessing of being here. We ask that you bless the actions of this board. Have us be good stewards and servants. Be conscious of every spending decision we make with the taxpayers' money, and let it be fruitful for the community. We ask blessings on our entire city government, our state government, federal government, and all the leaders of the world. Whether we agree with them or not, by your divine ordination, they are in place. We ask that they abide by your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, John. We will take public comment on issues or items that are not on the agenda, and they may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, begin by stating their name, and limit their remarks to less than 5 minutes. Board members may request that a discussed item be placed on a future agenda. The board takes public comment on all regular agenda items during the discussion of those items. Do we have any public comment? Being none, we will close the public comment section, move on to our consent agenda. Do I have any questions or hear a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. Motion carries. Moving to our regular agenda, item 5, we are going to take item C under the executive closed session, under the exemption section 551.072 to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property on First Street. We're going to take that into executive session, as well as the AEPE North Texas for the purchase of 52 acres at the Business and Industrial Park. And then item G, the update regarding air service marketing project, we're going to take into executive.
It's item H. Item H.
Item H?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Item H, excuse me. We're going to take item H into executive session. The consideration of a resolution in support of City Council approval of a project authorizing the expenditure for $63,000 for air service marketing and recruitment services under exemption section 551.087 parentheses 2 to discuss an offer of financial or other incentives to companies with whom the City of San Angelo Development Corporation is conducting economic development negotiations. So those two items will be taken in executive session and will not be heard unless there is action on which we need to come out after executive session and announce. So that being said, item 5 is our regular agenda. First item is item A, the presentation and update regarding BREP, Helping Local Business Marketing Campaign, by Stephen McLaughlin of McLaughlin Advertising. Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
I'm fine. I hope everyone's well.
Good.
He's got a couple of ads and a video and whatnot. Okay. Yes, I do. Hope everybody's doing well. Apparently my eyesight's not as good as it was last time I was up here. Must be time to get some cheaters. Okay, to recap our public awareness efforts to date, initially we started with search engine marketing based on keywords, and while our click-through rates were higher than average, in other words, when these would pop up, when people search these particular keywords and the ad would pop up, more people than average clicked on those ads. We also learned that keywords specific to our target businesses in this area were simply not searched with enough frequency. Then late last year, we sent a mailer to businesses in the area who fell under our codes for manufacturing. In December, we began placements of small ads in the business section of the local paper. These have rotated our 2 different messages, and we have new ads for that placement. And let's see if I can effectively work this. Just to give you a preview of a couple of new ads for that. Here's one. Can y'all see that? Here's another. If you'll recall, these are very inexpensive, but they're very, very small ads in the business section of the paper. I know a couple of you have mentioned seeing them. Early 2016, we printed posters and business cards for local banks and CPAs to make available to their clients. We also augmented the first quarter with small ads on the front page of the American Classifieds. In February, we suspended the keyword searches and diverted those online dollars to online ads that pop up on sites related to things that analytics tells us capture the interest to people in our target demographic. These results have been better than the keyword advertising was, and for example, in March, our ad popped up 12,737 times, and in May, our ad popped up 10,645 times, and these are separate sessions online, although there may be some duplication of the actual searchers. And analytics showed that 6,145 of those times the viewer watched 100% of the video without skipping it. Now, you probably have experience with ads that pop up online, and you have the option to skip through the ad. So, that's pretty significant if we have over 60% watching our whole ad. So that tells us that that's getting where it needs to go. In March, we did begin television ads. We have used primarily Fox News, CNN, ESPN, TNT, and Headline News Network. And I believe Anthony has loaded up the first ad we ran.
A plan to grow by adding jobs or through capital investment, contact the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. The new Business Retention and Expansion Initiative is here to help. If you match the criteria set forth by law, the next business that the half-cent sales tax helps could be yours. COSA DC Business Retention and Expansion, helping one local business help all local business.
That's what ran the March, April, May period. We used evening prime rotators on those networks.
To a San Angelo-based business owner, are you looking to expand your local business? The City of San Angelo Development Corporation's new Business Retention and Expansion Initiative is here to help. They offer great incentives such as tax rebates, reimbursements for development fees and safety improvements, as well as grants for job creation and retention. For more information on the Business Retention and Expansion Program, visit cosatx.us or call 653-7197. Helping one local business helps all local business.
That ad was created in June, and it began with our June, July, and August run. Evening viewing is not as concentrated with this, in the summer months, and we use some morning things and mix that in with larger frequency. We also added San Angelo Live online for the summer period. We took advantage of their boost in readership during the local election season. With September, we returned to evening programming. The online video advertising continues. In October and November, we could look at local talk radio to take advantage of the peak interest during the final weeks of the presidential election. In terms of budget, we remain under budget for the year. That's all I have. If you guys have any questions for me or comments or anything I need to take note of.
Questions for Stephen? Do we have any way to measure, or do we capture the viewing, the clicks, and so forth? You mentioned that. Do we have any way to measure if we're getting response rolling? Is that something we know? So does Stephen know that?
I don't know anything except for what I can see in the analytics online. When people click through, that actually is the only thing we have that tracks their actions, just like any other advertising effort with television and print and that sort of thing. I don't know except for the kind of the feedback that we get from them as far as what they're hearing in the community and phone calls they get and people who are interested in that sort of thing.
Do the folks, are we having folks call and say, I saw?
We do in both print and TV and radio ads. I think the program is fairly new. And based on those percentage numbers, responses, I think it's important to note that, I mean, it's creating an awareness. We know that BREP is a difficult task. You know, most businesses are operating their business and they don't have time. We've found even through the direct mail pieces that, and we've gone to those businesses and they've got the direct mail piece there on right next to the phone saying, we've been meaning to call you, we just hadn't had time. So I think it's a good start.
And this is purely non-scientific. This is just because I have a lot of businesses that I do marketing for, and so in the course of this year, there's been several of them that are either would be eligible or need to learn more about it, and it's amazing. You know, they say it's difficult you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. In this case, getting the horse to the water is the hard thing. Having people understand and accept that, yes, this means them too. Even when you're sitting in front of them spelling them out, it just takes a lot of repetition for them to get the idea that it is worth their time and energy to look into this. That's what I find. I don't know what you guys find out in the community talking to people, but having people believe that, no, really, it's for local business too, and it can help you. It's just, it's a little harder than selling a hamburger. That's what I'm finding. It's surprising to me. You'd think free money, they'd line up out the door, but they just need more education, what I run into.
Thanks for your efforts.
You bet.
Other
Thank you.
comments or questions? Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it. Move on to item B, update regarding the 2016 Porch to Plains Alliance Annual Meeting held in San Angelo, September 13th through 15th. And we are going to have City Council person Charlotte Farmer. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
Good.
I'm Charlotte Farmer, board member, Porch to Plains, and city council member. I'm here today to give you an update on our conference that was just held here in San Angelo. And before I give some of those particulars, I want to thank Bob and Roland for all of their help that they gave me to assist me in that. But I can't not say thank you to Michael Looney, Chamber. I asked Michael to step in where Phil Neighbors was assisting me, and he never dropped the ball. He never slowed down. And I guarantee you, without Michael Looney and Becky Dunn, I don't know that we would have gotten it done, but it was done. The whole emphasis on the conference was a river of commerce runs through it. That was our theme. That's what we expanded on, and what I truly wanted to do was take the opportunity, while we have people here from several different states and Mexico and Canada, was to emphasize San Angelo, not just Porch to Plains, but to emphasize San Angelo and how important we feel we are to the Porch to Plains and what we have to offer. I'm a history buff. I love history. I love San Angelo. Wasn't born here, but I got here as quick as I could. Studied up and just fell in love with what the area had to offer. And I wanted that enthusiasm, my enthusiasm for San Angelo, to come across to the people from Canada, from Mexico, from Montana, North Dakota. And I thought, what a better way than to tell our story. So we met with Gus Clemens. All of you know him, and he wrote a beautiful opening for us. We had a slide presentation of way back when, of all the information that we have on San Angelo, long before the fort. Even we started with the Humano Indians. And Gus Clemens did a narrative for us, and the saying, "You could have heard a pin drop," was so true. Everyone was captivated by the story. Now, it could have been because I threatened them before. No cell phones, no talking, they could go out to the back 40. But no, I truly believe that they were fascinated with the story, with the slideshows that we were showing. We did a special presentation right before we kicked that off to Phil Neighbors. And his family was there and gave them a plaque to the Neighbors family for Phil's dedication and contribution to economic development and to the city of San Angelo. And then we went right into the slideshow without a hitch. And then the slideshow went right into the laser light show. If you missed it, you missed a treat. because we started out with a theme from the good, the bad, and the ugly, the spaghetti westerns, the music, very vibrant, very serious at times, and showed our Buffalo Soldiers in character with the lights, showed the wagons, showed the campfires, all of the things. We even showed Goodfellow and the airplanes and the testing, and everyone was so captivated. And that ended our first night, and it got everyone revved up. And from there, we went into the conference with some absolutely great speakers, I truly believe. We had Matthew Rooney, Director of Economic Growth from the George W. Bush Presidential Center, who visited and talked to us about commerce connecting in North America and our city. We also had healthcare, how it feeds into North America and this river of commerce, and how we have a shortage of rural doctors and how it affects our community and things that are being done. And Dr. Ted Mitchell, who's the president of the Texas Tech University Healthcare Science Center, was our speaker, and it was good information. We also did the legislative prospectus on the River of Commerce and time to fulfill those promises. We had State Representative Dustin Barrows and District Engineer of the New Mexico Department of Transportation here to visit about the importance of the Ports to Plains commerce and the needs that it has with the surrounding cities. We also had the importance of rural freight corridors in the River of Commerce connecting to the markets. We had Jack Schrickendorf, who is our legal counsel for Ports to Plains from Washington, D.C. Now, Jack is very monotone, and you can go to sleep if you don't know what he's talking about, but he has some very, very valuable economic information straight from D.C., and he has led us quite gallantly, I believe. We also had a speaker for recruiting industry to our local communities along the river, and Stephen Joes, president of ROI Research on Investment, was the speaker with that. We also talked about having a topic on trucking, and so trucking drivers and the flow, the river's flow, clearing the jobs and creating the job opportunities. And we had Mike Root, the general manager for the U.S. operations of Karen Transportation Systems, and it was quite a treat to have. He's actually from, I believe, Alberta. Is that correct? And it was quite a treat. It also, we discussed about our river of commerce requires multimedia connections, and Federico Diaz-Page, the executive vice president for Texas Pacifico, was our slated speaker for that. We also had a topic of the balance of trade and security when you're crossing borders, international borders as well as state borders. And we had David Kettles, Director of Provincial and State Engagement, Economic Development and Trade, Government of Alberta, and Jose Cruz Hernandez from Mexico, Country Manager, Bendix Commercial Vehicle Systems. And they had a good talk about the trade. We ended that night, with a stepping back into the 1800s with a casino night at Miss Hattie's, gunfight in the parking lot, completely staged and costumed, and folks and the volunteers that helped, and the enjoyment was tremendous. Our keynote address speaker was Judge John Thompson. He's chairman of the Gulf Coast Strategic Highway Coalition and former chairman of the Alliance for I-69. The last two interstates designated in the United States are I-69 and just last year, I-14. What impacts that it will have and what impacts the Ports to Plains has on the efforts to extend I-27 and I-14 to intersect here in San Angelo, and what we could expect in that impact and a time frame. The importance of infrastructure was discussed, and James Bass with TxDOT, Executive Director, came and gave a good talk on that. And then our partners along the river, Eastern Alberta Trade Coordinator Jay Schlimp, Theodore Roosevelt Expressway Executive Director Cal Cluin, who also serves on the Ports to Plains Board of Directors, Heartland Express Director Deb Cottier, who also serves on the Ports to Plains Board of Directors, and Ports to Plains Director Richard Buzz David, the Economic and Business Development. And we concluded. I cannot begin to express my thanks to COSIDISI for your support and John Barrio, who was present, and also to Richard Crisp, who was present. And I'll let them tell you what they felt and the conversations after our entertainment and our conference.
Questions for Charlotte at this point? Charlotte, thank you. John, Richard, y'all have comments to make?
I think it was a very informative conference with people from Canada, Mexico, and all along the route in the United States. And it was fascinating to see the in-depth activities that are going on and the prospects for the future.
I certainly appreciated the opportunity to visit with, what we have, Charlotte, 175?
212 actual registered.
My number
so.
must have been early. It was an awesome gathering of people who are very influential in their communities. And the event was, in my opinion, flawless. They were extraordinarily impressed. During the gathering at the River Stage, light show and such, my wife and I had an opportunity to visit with a number of folks from the entire length of the Ports to Plains corridor. And when we mentioned tourism, several mentioned that they will be bringing their families back to San Angelo for that purpose. But more importantly, the vision of having this trade corridor come through San Angelo, the stimulation of our economy as well as the economies of the sister cities all along the route, the agricultural input. If we don't plan now, our children and our grandchildren will never have the next phase in the westward expansion of the United States. Just wouldn't happen without this groundwork. If we look at the United States, right now the westward expansion from the East Coast west sort of ends at I-35. As our population grows and our economy grows, the only next logical step is to build another corridor, being I-27. And yes, we would all love to see San Angelo stay the small town. We can't stop progress. It is going to happen. So we might as well sign on to the program, be active participants in our own rescue and success. And I think that enthusiasm was so well conveyed in the days we had together. Thank you, Charlotte, for all your hard work. Thanks to Becky, to Michael,
and Becky,
everyone who chipped in. I happen to know a couple of the groundskeepers with the Parks Department, and I even complimented them on the care they took to the lawn at the River Stage. It looked better than some of the golf course lawns, and it made a definite impression. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the executive vice presidents with Ports to Plains, she came down a couple of weeks prior to the event to tour the facility, to make sure and how we were going to set up and go through the layout, and we had explained to her where we had put certain things, and she was just breathtaking with the beauty of our River Stage downtown. And when she came back, she said, I just can't imagine with the stagecoach, the covered wagons, the cannon, all of the work that the city staff and Chamber of Commerce folks did with the tables. We used just raw wood picnic tables, but the attention to that detail, it made it so inviting. And I had numerous people who had brought their wives from Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas. So impressed. You know, of course, I can understand if you're from Kansas how you'd be impressed. Nobody here from Kansas, I hope. But, you know, it's just kind of flat and rolling. But the beauty and the enthusiasm and how open everyone along the route. Brenda Gunner at Miss Hattie's opened her home the first night on a Monday night for the board members and some business officials and in town to just kind of break the ice and to get to know the folks, and they are still sending me emails of thank you and how wonderful, and can they borrow this and can they borrow that. So thank you guys for your support.
Thank you for your work, Charlotte. Michael, thanks for your participation, and to Becky as well from the city. We will move item C to the executive session, so we're on to item D. Consider approving Costa DC City of San Angelo agreement for provision of administrative services for fiscal year 2016 and fiscal year 2017 in the amount of $471,273.59 for fiscal year 2016 and $513,677 for fiscal year 2017, recommending ratification by City Council and authorizing the Board President to execute the agreement in substantially the same form as attached. Roland.
Good morning, board members.
Good morning.
This is, as you read the caption, it is a resolution and an agreement. This is required by our city ordinance and also a statute requirement that allows us to utilize municipal personnel for our administrative services, which includes economic development. We've been waiting on the indirect cost study to determine perhaps a true-up of actual hours worked and the value of those services being provided on the administrative services side. That information was received late last month, early part of this month, and so we've been able to determine what those numbers are, and you see the cost difference there on your background. Not very significant at all, but we've been waiting on that cost study to take effect, so there hasn't been a payment made to the city. We did not have an executed contract for this fiscal year because we were waiting on that information, so that's why you see a combined contract for both fiscal years. Something else that is new is we've added the Neighborhood and Family Services piece. You may recall that was another contract that we had. We felt it just made sense to incorporate that administrative service along with the others. Again, this is for fiscal year, and you read the amounts of over $471,000, and then fiscal year 2017 over $513,000, and the next slide shows the breakdown. I would recommend approval and can answer any questions you may have.
I'll make the motion that we approve.
I got a couple of quick questions before that. Hey, Roland, on the I guess in the increase, is that because there's more hours that are going to be put in, or I mean, what's the reason the increase from year to year?
Well, on the economic development side, obviously, there fiscal year 16, we had an increase in salary, and we also had additional personnel that was added. That's Shannon, so a new staff member there. And then the other administrative services is just trying to true up the true value of all the hours spent. I don't think that's been done before in quite some time. As you can tell, that amount was not that significant.
John, you still,
Yes,
your motion still stands? Okay.
Yes, it does.
We do have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Edward. Any questions any more questions for Roland? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. Motion carries. Moving on to item E, update regarding the Governor's Small Business Forum to be held October 13th, 2016 at the McNeese Convention Center. Roland?
This is just a quick update on the Small Business Forum. The board approved the allocation and the use of staff services to assist the governor's office with this forum. This is the second year in a row. I just wanted to show you one of the direct mail pieces. These are the topics that are going to be featured. It will take place October the 13th here at the McNeese from 7:30 to 1:30. We've had a team of folks working to put this forum on, and we do have, like any event, you have sort of a star, a wrangler that sort of is the glue that keeps us together. I would not have embarked on this effort without having the partners involved. Small Business Development Center, I know Dave Erickson is back there, but we utilize his staff tremendously. They've helped us with a lot of the online information. Obviously, they're experts at putting on events and forums, and so I really need to thank them and Dave and his staff and Desiree Johnson. They're very instrumental. Every one of the partners here you see are all involved, but I just wanted to put a special thanks for them, put a special plug for them. We do have sponsors. AEP is our major sponsor for this event. Republic Services and Frontier and Atmos also jumped on board. And we do have some contributing sponsors that are helping us advertise. You're going to begin seeing a lot of the advertising kick in to heavy mode this week as we approach. I mean, we're only 2 weeks away. We're excited about the forum. We will have one satellite site, and we're working on 2 others, but Alpine is a region that we're going to video cast, and we're preparing to do some gear checks, technical checks between now and the forum so that we can provide something that is seamless, looks well, and so the governor's office is excited about it. It'll be the first one done that way, and we're looking at it as a pilot program for future forums. So we're excited about it. Just kind of wanted to put that out there just as a quick brief update. Would welcome to have you there at the event, and if you could spread the word, folks can can register online at sanangeloforum.com.
How many folks are you expecting here in San Angelo?
Well, our goal is 100. Last year we had over 100, probably 112. That's still a goal. We're hoping that in the external regions we'll have some added numbers. If we break that goal, I'll be very, very excited.
Good. Questions for Roland? Okay. Moving on to item F, update regarding Ranger Aviation Enterprises, Inc., project to install fire sprinkler systems. Presentation by Mr. Mitch Sprunger, Deputy Airport Director. Morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, members of the board.
How are you?
Very good. Mitch Sprunger, Deputy Airport Director. Roland wanted me to give you just a quick briefing on the fire suppression system at the 8193 Hangar Road property, which we commonly refer to as the Ranger Paint Hangar. At this point, the system is likely to be completed in the next month and a half to 2 months. As far as what they've completed thus far, all of the system has been installed inside the main office areas, and as well as the main hallway area, which connects the 4 main paint bays. So all the smoke detectors, annunciators, and pull stations have been installed by Intertel. As far as what's left, now the main project is completing the suppression system inside the hangar bays, or the paint bays themselves. 1 of the 4 has been completed, and they should be completing another one by the end of next week. It takes about a week to a week and a half to complete each one of those. After that, they're going to need to do some trenching to access the gray water so you can utilize the system. And then, of course, the inspection by the fire marshal. So I was told it could be done hopefully within a month. I think conservatively, probably 2 months. It should be completed and in operation.
Good. Thanks. Questions for Mitch?
Photos?
And like I mentioned, this is the, you're seeing the strobe and the fire alarm system. The picture on the left is in one of the main office areas. That's the hallway connecting the paint hangar bays that I mentioned. This is the paint hangar bay that has been completed. You see the fire suppression sprinklers there on the left, and then this is a conduit that has been ran with heat detectors and annunciators on the right side. Any questions?
Questions? Good. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate the update and report. Moving to item G, an update regarding air service marketing project. Presentation by Mr. Luis Elguzabal, Airport Director. Luis,
Good morning.
how are
Mr.
you?
Chair,
Morning.
board members.
Good morning.
I'm going to be brief today, and we're going to go into executive session and discuss this item, or not this particular item, but future items in a second. Back in March of 2015, you received a briefing from our consultant, Lex Volo, in regards to our efforts till then. Since then, we have met with 5 additional airlines. I'll name them: 2, One Jet out of Indianapolis, Boutique Air out of San Francisco, RVR out of Fort Worth, Rice out of Dallas, and Texas Air Express out of Houston. The first 4 were not successful. The last one was not either, but we had numerous meetings with them in the spring of this year. Unfortunately, the economy turned bad and they had some financial issues and backed off. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So does he continue to market on our behalf, or was that over when the contract was
On the
up?
city's behalf, yes. We had the initial contract with you, and we have several amendments to that task order, so he continued to work on our behalf.
Good.
And the airport was able to fund that.
Good.
However, I'll leave it like that.
Other questions for Luis? All right. Thank you, sir. We always appreciate brief reports. So we will move item H to executive session, and at this time, we will go into executive session. It is 9:07. We will move into executive session under the provision of Government Code Title V, Open Government, Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government, Chapter 551, Open Meetings, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement that meetings be open under the following sections. Section 551.071, 1A, to consult with an attorney when the governmental body seeks the advice of its attorney about pending or contemplated litigation regarding Marta for Hirschfield Energy Systems, LLC et al., and Section 551.0712, to consult with the attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter, and Section 551.072 to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property on First Street, Section 551.087 to discuss an offer of financial or other incentives to companies with whom the City of San Angelo Development Corporation is conducting economic development negotiations and which the City of San Angelo Development Corporation seeks to have, locate, stay, or expand in San Angelo. And we are now in executive session. It's a.m. and we are out of executive session. We will go back to our regular agenda. Item 5, and we will consider items C and H as they are listed on the agenda. We'll do item C, consider acceptance of an offer by AEP Texas North Company for the purchase of 52 acres more or less at the Business and Industrial Park at a sales price of $1,196,000, and authorizing the board president to negotiate and execute a real estate sales contract subject to approval by City Council. Roland.
Yes, we have received an offer for 52 plus or minus acres in Phase 2 for the purchase price of $1,196,000. That amounts to $23,000 per acre. The contract that you have before you does require all the utilities to the property line. And in addition, stormwater requirements are also in the purchase agreement. Estimated cost of that is $2.4 million. We are intending to apply for an EDA grant for $1.5. Just want to show you the property. This is also on your in the purchase agreement, the background information that you have. It's colored in lime green. I wanted to point out that this is probably the most significant or the largest sale of property to date at the industrial park. Prior to that, our largest sale was with Case Hole Solutions at 20 acres. So we're excited about this. In addition, we've sold, this next map shows you this property here. We've also sold 2 acres there. So these two with the X are under contract, and this one's been sold. Just to let you know what remains. So we have this one remaining and these two remaining at this point. We intend to use this parcel here for some of the proposed drainage and stormwater requirements, and then we're going to try to retrench this portion and fulfill what was required in the master plan. That's just a side note, but we're very excited about the sale of this property. With that, I would open to any questions that you may have. Otherwise, I would recommend approval of the purchase agreement.
Questions for Roland, anybody?
Motion approved.
I have a motion to consider acceptance of the offer by AEP. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Crosco. Any other questions or comments by anyone? All in favor of considering the acceptance of this offer by AEP Texas North Company, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving to item H, consideration of a resolution in support of City Council approval of a project authorizing the expenditure of not to exceed $63,000 for air service, marketing, and recruitment services to be provided by the City of San Angelo under contract with KSA Engineers, Inc., determined by the board to be an authorized project under Chapter 505 of the Development Corporation Act to promote or develop new or expanded business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs, directing and authorizing the Costa DC Board President to negotiate and execute a memorandum of understanding with the City of San Angelo, providing for the authorized funding of the project. Roland?
Yes, the resolution that you have before you authorizes the Board President to negotiate and execute an MOU for air service marketing and recruitment services not to exceed the $63,000. It will be used for the promotion and development of new or expansion services and the creation and retention of primary jobs. The scope of services, as you'll find as in the exhibit, as part of the contract or the MOU, includes carrier outreach and recruitment services. That includes negotiations, the modeling and financial analysis, marketing strategies, and filing for the extension of the SCASD grant. And I would recommend approval. If you have any more questions, though, I think Lou's still around, and he may be able to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of Roland or Lou on this item?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Flores. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We are finished with our regular agenda now. Moving on now to item 7, consideration and possible action regarding matters in executive session, which we just acted on those 2 items just then, and we are on to item 8.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Motion, second to the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.